Hey, this is Roger Moret from Agnostic Front, and you're watching Aftershock TV.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on now to our next one. So now this is pretty interesting. Let me bring up the thing real quick here. Always got to get the visuals with these things. Okay, here we go. All right. So now I don't know. Have you heard about this, Chris? There is a upcoming 8-part docuseries that's going to be exploring history of heavy metal to debut on Hulu in 2025. It's called Into the Void. It's Canadian Vice Studios in Canada is putting this out. And when I first saw this, I was like, okay, cool. Wow. We all love documentaries and docuseries and all this stuff. 8-part, man, awesome. And it says, though, this is the thing that got me. It says, don't be surprised to see Sabbath, Metallica, and Slayer. According to report, the series will chronicle the emotional sagas behind the most towering legends and unforgettable artists in heavy metal. It'll go behind the stage into the real lives of heavy metal icons. Okay, so now don't be surprised to see Sabbath, Metallica, and Slayer. Wow, really? When it comes to metal?
Holy shit, are you kidding?
Holy shit, this is going to be so special and different.
We're going to get the deep tracks from Megadeth.
Yeah, I mean, dude, my first thought when I saw this, when I read that especially, is this going to tell us anything that we don't already know? I believe so, too.
Nothing. We're going to see outtakes from some kind of monster video. This is going to stink.
It's going to stink. I agree.
I mean, and let's be fair. We're all going to watch it.
Of course we will.
We're all going to watch it.
We're going to rip it to shreds after we watch it.
We are, but we're all going to watch it, and we'll probably be on the interview circuit for interviewing the guys that did this thing. But it's going to stink. It's going to be...
Again, what is it going to tell? Those 3 bands, Sabbath, Metallica, and Slayer, we know everything about them already.
And we already know the stories. What is the Sabbath story going to be? The Sabbath story is going to be Ozzy fell apart and they brought in Ronnie James Dio.
Uh-huh.
That's what the Sabbath part is going to be. The Metallica part is going to be, well, they cut their hair and changed their identity and sold out their fans.
Oh, they moved from L.A. up to the Bay Area because of Cliff Burton. I don't
even think it'll be that. I think it'll be the transition into the Black Album. They're not going to go with obscure. They're going to go with...
Well, you're right, and that's exactly it. Why have something like this unless you're going to be obscure?
Yeah, but
right. If you're going to talk about some of the proto metal bands that no one talks about, or some of how these genres got started, in a way, like when we saw Bob's Inside Metal, we saw the earlier stages of bands like the Weirdos, these sort of punky bands that sort of was like sort of the takeoff point for LA metal. That's the stuff that if you're going to put together a series like Bob did, you got to get into the weeds of that stuff. I remember I don't know if you remember there was a docuseries that was on VH1 Classics some years ago, going back, 20 plus years. It was done by Quincy Jones. I think it was called The History of Rock or something like that.
Okay.
There was 6. They went through all the different eras up until grunge.
Sure. Okay.
That was the last one, and they even did the CBGB's history.
Sure.
We were talking about some of that stuff the other day, the early punk, Television, like you said, Elvis Costello, all these kind of, bands, new wavy type of things. But unless they're going to go into that, I mean, or if they're going to go, if we're talking about a complete series, are they going to stop they all do at grunge? Are they going to get into, Pantera and then new metal and stuff like that? The 90s, I highly doubt it. This is
Pantera might get touched on, but that's it.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at this picture, it's like they're at the Wacken Festival. Wow, really, Wacken? Oh, we didn't know about that. I mean,
ooh, wow, heavy.
Again, I mean, and I'm not trying to, it's. This is what's kind of bugging me about a lot of these, metal documentaries, and I'm seeing. It reminds me of just growing up in New York. Obviously, and I'm not a fan, but my whole family are New York Jet fans, right?
Sure.
It reminds me of whenever you watch, say, the Jets on a primetime game or a big game, right? What are they talking about? The same thing they've been talking about for 50 years, 1969 with Joe Namath, because there's been nothing else that's happened.
Right, exactly.
Right, since. That's what I feel about every time we watch one of these metal documentaries, it's the same thing. You're talking about Sabbath up to Metallica. Maybe they, like I said, maybe they tinge a little bit on Seattle, but they don't really go there because it's not really metal. But it's the same shit over and over. We don't hear
Yeah.
nothing new.
No,
We saw Murder in the Front Row. Was there anything new in Murder in the Front Row?
No.
At the Big Four? No, right? I mean, there's just nothing new in these, and it's just going to be the same over
It's the
and over
same
and over.
rehash tired. You know, if anything, they'll move a little more into the modern, but they'll go into the modern with the modern shitty stuff. It'll be, here's Tom Morello talking about Rage Against the Machine again. And
Yeah, exactly.
here's Korn.
Korn.
And, you know,
Disturbed, maybe we'll get Disturbed.
yeah,
or
maybe
something, but that's it.
Disturbed, but even Disturbed,
Even
I
that,
think is not
probably not.
big. I think Korn would be the
last.
maybe Slipknot.
Slipknot would get there. You're right. That's
You
probably the
know,
last one.
but you're not gonna get. Hey, you know, there was this undercurrent with Primer 55 and Crazy Town,
Exactly.
and you're not gonna get that.
Nope.
You're gonna get this is made for housewives.
Exactly.
Housewives whose husbands used to like metal before they got converted into country fans. And they could sit down on Hulu and say, "Gee, honey, let's watch some of this stuff from your past." And the dumb cuck husband will be like, "Oh, cool. I remember Ronnie James Dio. You know, oh, this is great. Oh, Metallica, Enter Sandman." Ugh,
I
yuck.
mean, when I see these things coming out, to me, it's just a sign, dude. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's a sign that really metal and hard rock is sort of, and we've talked a little bit about this, it's kind of in the history books now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not going to be, I mean, we've talked, I don't want to get too into the weeds of this, but when you see these things come out, these historic things, it's like, you know, when you see these jazz documentaries and how that just ended overnight, and you know, it's always going to be alive. I'm not saying metal's gone or rock is dead, but it's never going to have the social and cultural relevance it once had.
No.
You know, it's just not. So that's why they keep celebrating with these old things. And I understand why they're not going to go into obscure things. There's not enough interest in the
No,
obscurity.
there's not. Well, and they're
know?
not playing, and we're not the audience either.
Exactly.
We
Yes.
are not the
We're
Hulu
not.
audience. The Hulu audience, like I said, is the cucked husband with the, you know, that listens to Jason Aldean now, but grew up listening to metal.
Yes.
He's about 40 years old. You know, he's changed his life because of his job and his blah blah blah. And this is the chance for the husband and the wife to sit down and spend 8 great hours watching Hulu. But me and you, we're gonna watch this and be like, there's not a goddamn new fact in this thing.
No. Yeah.
The only documentaries that are good in the music world, at least to me, are the ones that are very granular. Like when they pick an album, and it doesn't even have to be a metal album. It could be, I don't know, John Cougar Mellencamp's record or something. And they really dive into it deep. But that's because we grew up with it and we want to learn more about that. You know, this kind of stuff that is just kind of overseeing 50,000 foot stuff. We lived it. We don't need to see a twisted, not accurate, bloated media version of, you know, I mean, what are they going to say? Metallica. What are they really going to say?
That we don't already know. Exactly.
Yeah, they're not going to bring up the Cliff Mall stuff where they were robbing grocery stores to eat.
Exactly.
They're going to be like, this band came from out of nowhere to
they
become the
went
biggest
to New
band
Jersey.
in the world.
They signed with Megaforce, and then they played.
I don't even think they're going to go with the sign with Megaforce.
I mean, but you're right. They might not even go into that. But if they do, that's about as deep as they're going to get, though. But you're right. They're probably going to talk more about when they got big with the Black Album.
Yeah.
They're going to go into more of the mainstream discussion about these bands, and not going to get into the weeds. And to have an 8-part series of that, like I said, hey, I hope we're completely wrong on this. And this thing is like, and this thing goes into all the weeds of you know, new wave of British heavy metal and everything. I mean, that would be fantastic. And I hope I eat my words on this. I really do.
Yeah.
But we've seen one too many of these where we know what we're going to see.
We saw it recently with that Nothing But a Good Time.
Yes, the 80s, yeah.
You know, and it was just over the top, same stuff that we've always seen, you know. So
I mean, we've seen behind the musics.
Yeah.
We see these things. It's like, I mean, again, I do appreciate that there's a series coming out about it.
Yeah.
I think it is great that people aren't forgetting it and that they're actually putting these out. So again, I'm not like knocking it. To me, it's like, this is going to be a big deal because, you know, listen, 15 years ago, this came out. Yeah, we'd all be licking our chops can't wait to watch something like this. But we've just seen so many of these out there. Like I said, we know between
Yeah,
the
we
internet,
know.
between interviews, between all these things, documentaries. We know everything about those bands.
Well,
Man.
I just think these things more and more, and I hate to admit it because it just says that we're old, but
Yeah,
these things are made primarily for the primary audience for Hulu didn't live through this.
yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, the primary
Well, is that why
audience,
they're doing it? You think that maybe they're doing
yeah,
it to educate them? Okay,
but I
yeah.
don't think it's to educate them. I think everybody that's 30 years old has heard about the crazy 80s and the crazy rock days of it, but then they see the bad videos of all these bad bands, doing it poorly now, and they're going to capitalize on showing it in a bigger light. Like we remember seeing Metallica when the Black Album first came out, and they were still a metal band before they like completely sold, when they were like, they had a sold out record, but at the same time, they were still the fuck you, stand up and get
Exactly, yeah.
drunk and party band,
Yep.
you know.
Now it's hey friends, like you said, right? Yeah.
But the 30-year-olds don't know that era.
True.
So for them to see this and see crazy crowd, and dude, you ever sit with like I've done this with my kids who are in their 30s, and I've shown them videos of like Metallica at the Day on the Green that I went to,
Okay.
or the Pantera live in Russia, and they see it and they look at the crowd and they're like, holy shit, that's like something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
But for us, that was every show.
That was like run of the mill comment.
That was every time you went to the Cow Palace, you went crazy. Yeah. That was kind of what it was. This is history for them. For us, we've already lived it. So, it's do you think that the World War II people go back and watch Pearl Harbor? Probably not, because they lived it.
True.
You know, and we're in the same boat now with this stuff.
Well, yeah, and really, I guess that to maybe finish on a positive note here, comment, so I'm not all negative here.
But my Pearl Harbor wasn't positive?
Yeah, I guess you could get something positive out of Pearl. I guess you could think of something positive out of anything, right? But no, what I was saying is, I will say, at least, like I said, this if this helps, promote metal to younger kids. Listen, we've been hearing this. I mean, we have been hearing this from people that rock. I keep hearing people saying it's making a comeback, like with the younger kids. There is a new generation. I think our generation got just so, I think, soured on the millennials and what they were bringing to the table that we forgot that, there's another generation coming up now. We are that old too. And that generation, from all accounts, from what people are telling me, from a little bit I see, they are getting into rock and roll. Even just the other day, I was just at the gym. There's this younger dude there, and he's air guitaring, and he's got his Screaming in Vengeance Judas Priest shirt on.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, this is great to see this. This is probably a kid that was about 20, 21 years old.
Sure.
And I loved seeing that, and so I do see some younger kids walking around with some of, those shirts on and so forth. And, but you never could tell, is it the Hollywood, design thing, or is it really you're wearing it because you like the band? But listen, maybe the Kardashians wearing these shirts have got these kids to look at this, go, who's that? And I mean, I don't know if it has, but I'm just saying, the bottom line is I do think there maybe is a little resurgence coming. So this could help aid that resurgence where maybe it will stay relevant, or it'll have a rebirth or resurgence of relevancy with the younger generation in terms of culturally and socially or whatever. So
the crazy thing is we only need one. We need one Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
We just need, and not Guns N' Roses. We need one
band like that. Yeah.
Whoever it would be from today. Just one would launch the whole thing again. But man,
not Spearbox? No.
Dude, it's going to be a chick band.
Well, it probably is.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
It wouldn't shock me if it was, it wouldn't shock me if it was Ginger, because the Ginger band seems to play across both. Or
I think they're just a little too
heavy,
progressive and obscure for people to catch on. I think.
I think another one that could possibly be it, and again, they're a long way from being it, but would be like Lena Scissorhands or Infected Rain.
I don't know about her. Like you said, The Warning would be one, maybe.
The Warning could be, but The Warning are a little too clean.
They are clean.
The reason I'm bringing up Lena is she fits today's youth.
True. I just think
she's very
not, I think
tattooed up.
I know, but she's just too old, I think, for it. That's just
she
me
might be.
personally.
What is she, 30?
In her 30s. That's too old.
I know,
mean, it just is,
too
unfortunately.
old,
Yeah. You got to be a night. I guess I think the Spirit Box should be more.
Yeah, Spirit Box could.
They've got a lot of money behind them. That band.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same
no one
with
even
the
knows
Warning.
this.
Same with
yeah,
the
the
Warning
Warning does too. You know, like I said, I think you're right though. I think it might be a female band. Although, you know, we'll see. I mean, I just hope that, you know, hopefully a documentary series, whatever like this will continue to just at least keep it in the atmosphere, the musical atmosphere for these younger kids. And
yep, I'm with you.
But yeah, I'm not expecting much out of this
Nope.
docuseries at all. Not at all.
I had an interest in music always.
It's always kind of been around me some way, shape, or form.
5 minutes sitting on a drum set, man, change your life.
This is the same black guitar that Marty McFly plays in Back to the Future.
I love the feeling I get in front of the freaking full stack here, just the vibration or something to it.
I'm lucky because I do have a little bit of a tap into the Fu Manchu lore, into the Nebula lore.
In order to keep things going, you kind of have to like start playing the game a little bit, you know, like the business game.
Everybody has to get through a day-to-day, and how do you exist and how do you get by?
As far as getting people to commit to bands, it's tough to keep a lot together these days, for sure.
Still sleeping on people's floor, that's still a reality.
Probably also playing with some of the best people I've ever played with. The creative juices don't stop. It just keeps going.
For me, it's just finding a balance of how much time I'm spending with my family versus how much time I'm spending working.
It's this validation that what you're doing actually has merit.
Obviously, we're a little long in the tooth, and we've been doing this for a minute, and now we can kind of do what we want. We don't need a record company. I'll do it myself. I'll do it the way I want to.
Just always be cool. Just be respectful. Those are your people. They're connecting to you on some level, even if they don't look like you.
It's got to happen, you know, or else I'll go crazy. I'll go crazy one way or another, you know. I might as well, you know, not go crazy if I can play music.
Maybe one day I'll have a Porsche, but you know, until that day, I'll drive a Chevy.
There you go.
All right.